Hi everybody, Laura here. Thank you so much for joining me again today. I have a fun project to share with you using some of the November products from Concord Ninth. You ever heard the phrase, it's sweater weather? Well, we're gonna be making some sweaters with the sweater design. You ever wanted to be, I don't know if you have, but I kind of have it a little bit. Want to be like part fashion designer, part card maker? This set is for you. You can design your own sweaters. What's better? To design your own sweaters. There's nothing better. Okay, I'll stop. You ever want to make a ho 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 sweater? How about a snowflake sweater? A Christmas tree sweater? Forget about it. A yellow sweater with chevrons? A grapefruit sweater with sorbet snowflakes. Stay tuned for more sweater season. Okay, so we have the November release with Concord Ninth. As always, they knocked it out of the park. I love everything. But today's project's going to be featuring the sweater season stamps and dies. I love how the back of the packaging has this fabulous imagery, really gets that mojo flowing. You can design your own sweaters. You can also design your own little beanie or winter cap, or as my husband calls it, toque. That's what they call them up there in Canada. Okay, so there are 3 different sweater dies, and they all have slightly different neckline, just so you know. And some can be more inclined to just a crew neck or a turtleneck, or however you want to make it. I'm going to be using all Concord Ninth cardstock. You know how I'm always trying to slip in a rainbow if I can. So we got poppy, nectar, buttercup, parsley, I don't remember the other colors, but I always link the assortment of Concord Ninth cardstock because I really think you can't just buy one color. You need the whole assortment. And okay, so I'm going to do a little ho, ho, ho on the red sweater. I kept it in the die. I die cut it out of white cardstock. It all kind of stayed in. I thought maybe I could do a little flipperoni and just pop it down. And it kind of worked except for one of the O's stayed in the die, but I used my little reverse tweezers and just kept that right there. I like how that bright white ho 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 looks nice and poppy on that poppy sweater. And then I die cut little trim the neckline and the cuffs with cranberry, which is the darker kind of dark red, and it has a nice little contrast to this sweater. So all the sweaters get the trimmings. And I try to use all the different necklines just to, spice it up. But then the little sleeve cuff and the waistline, what do you call that? This little waistline, is that called a cuff? Little waistband. I'm not sure what the anatomy of a sweater is called. I should have looked that up. But here we have a fun, look at this. I would wear this, especially if it was a sweatshirt. I'm a sweatshirt lover. But I do love a nice graphic sweater, especially for the holidays. Now, for the nectar sweater, I'm going to stamp this row of, it's kind of like stitched snowflakes. And I first started out with grapefruit ink, but then I realized it wasn't giving me enough va-va-va-voom. So I pulled out sorbet, which is just a little bit darker, and that really hit it in the sweet spot. So I'm going to clean off this row and just stamp the entire nectar sweater with rows of these, what do you call them? Snowflakes? I'm not sure. They're like stitched little snowflake-esque designs. And I just thought it was kind of fun repeating all the way down and all the way up into the neckline. And then I'll cut the trim with some sorbet cardstock. Now these little embellishment wands are invaluable. They're by Simon Says Stamp. I have the Place and Pierce. That's good for popping out the little die cuts. And then the Place and Score, which is what I use here with that pink tip, to glue on all the pieces. Okay, now for the buttercup sweater. Gonna make some little chevrons, some little ziggy zaggies, 3 of them to be exact. So to have a little contrasting color, I did sunflower, clementine, and cayenne little ziggy zags. This isn't really, giving you holiday vibes, but it is giving me kind of Patagonia, maybe a little Cotopaxi, little North Face. This is what my daughters love. They want to, even though they're from the Midwest, they want to look like they're from Colorado or Utah hiking in the mountains. It's a vibe, and the kids these days, they love it. Okay, so trimming off some of that little excess chevron, and you have a fun little buttercup ziggy-zaggy sweater. Kind of ties in good for the holidays. I did add the little trim the trimmery out of Clementine cardstock. So just popping those all on. I am using Barely Arts glue to glue everything. Now for the parsley sweater, we're going to do this one up flat out classic holiday style. So I wanted to stamp in a complete sweater pattern. I glued the sweater down to some scrap cardstock. That way I could hold it down and stamp that sweater pattern using parsley ink onto parsley cardstock. So it's kind of a tone on tone, but it gives you that sweater pattern. And then I die cut the Christmas tree and the trim out of evergreen cardstock. Gonna quickly glue that on. Just a simple little Christmas tree. Pop it right in the middle. And now this one here has the turtleneck. Okay, so it's getting fancy. It's got the evergreen turtleneck on it. You know you're getting serious about the holidays when you have a turtleneck sweater. You know what I mean? Okay, now for the blueberry sweater, I'm going to do a simple little snowflake, pop it right in the chest. If you notice, I'm keeping these sweaters fairly simple. I don't want them to be too crazy detailed, but I want enough that each one's interesting and unique, but not too much that any one doesn't distract from the other. They all kind of go together. I mean, basically, you want it to look like an ad for Old Navy. Kind of. And this is fun. I've always wanted to be a fashion designer, and now I can get it out on my cards. When I was growing up, I had the Barbie, what's it called? The Barbie fashion plates, the rubbing. Like you put these different plates, you can mix and match boots with pants, with skirts and sweaters and hats, and then you put paper on it, and then you rub your crayon over it, and the texture makes your design like rubbing plates. Do you know what I'm talking about? Anywho, I loved that thing and played with it. I thought I was going to go to New York and be a fashion designer. But who knew? I'd be getting all that creative energy out on my cards with the Concord 9th November release. And I'm loving it. It's like bringing the two loves together. I really do. My daughters love it too. They want to design t-shirts and sweatshirts, and it's in the family. It's in the DNA. Now, for the background, I pulled out the Stay Cozy stencil pack. It's got 3 different stencils in it, and I'm going to use the MISTI stamp white glass board with the waffle flower grip mat to hold down a panel of, I believe this is pebble cardstock, and I'm putting down this entire kind of sweater pattern over it. I'm going to use some white pigment ink. I'm using Simon's Stamp white pigment ink, and then just a little blender brush. I watched a live last night with Jennifer McGuire and Greg showcasing the November release, and she did a little white pigment ink, and she did mention that when she uses this, she likes to use the old sponge applicator, which I do agree. I think it might be better than using a brush. I got the job done with a brush, but you really have to do more pouncing than you do brushing or rubbing. So I think Jennifer's right on that. Use the sponge applicator or one of those. You ever seen those new pouncers they got out nowadays? The nowadays? Those would be good for applying white pigment ink. I trimmed it a little bit smaller so I could have a little margin on a white card base. And then I'm using some of these little 3D foam dots. Here's Frankie just coming in to say hi. Actually, he's probably begging for food or pets. And now there's some great sentiments in this set. 'Tis the season to be freezin'. I love that one, but they don't have coordinating dies for them. And then I saw this one, and it said it's sweater weather. This is one of those sentiment strips by Simon's Stamp, and it's called Reverse Brr. And I couldn't resist its sweater weather, so I trimmed it out, and I'm going to pop it up right in the center using one of those T-square rulers to make sure I get it straight. And I also love the sentiment strip because it's very small and it doesn't cover up too much of my sweater designs. So that's another reason I like that one. Also, Hank wanted to say hi. I mean, it's a regular petting zoo around here. What can I say? I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for joining me today. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time.